has grown to 68 universities today, 35 public and 33 private. Even that number may have changed quite a bit. We can now say Kenya has a relatively a good number of universities, and they are still growing. How do our universities rank regionally and globally? It's one thing to have the numbers, but it's another thing to have quality competitive universities. At the African level, among the top 200 universities, Kenya has 18 universities listed in Nairobi, ranking number 7, which is very good for Nairobi. Out of the Africa's 200 top universities, Nairobi ranks. Our own university, Kenyatta, ranks 31st, and Strathmore University, which is number 3, ranks number 7. South Africa leads with top 6 universities and 17 others in the list. So for number 6 is South Africa. Why should we allow that to happen? There is no difference between South Africans and us. They are our brothers. So why are we better than us? Egypt ranked second with 25 universities in the list, the 200 list, top list. Nigeria is third with 30. Nigeria has 30, but their universities, they don't rank as high on the top cluster than the Egyptians. But there are more number of universities in the top list of 200. So what we are saying, in terms of the numbers, the African standards, they are doing very well. But so far, no African university is listed among the global top 100 universities. Top countries in this listing are USA with 36 universities, China with 12, UK with 11, Germany with 8, Australia with 6, Netherlands with 6. The Netherlands population is about 17 million. They have all 6 universities. France with 4, Switzerland with 3. Switzerland has about 5 million, 5.5, no, I think 8 million. But they have 3 universities listed in the top 100. Canada, 3 are listed. South Korea, population just like us. Kenya's population and the South Korean population are equal, more or less. They have 3. Singapore, a much smaller country than us, has 2. Japan has 2. Sweden has 2. Belgium and Russia, 1 each. What criteria is being used in this listing? Broad criteria for universities ranking according to Times Higher Education World University. I think they have grouped categories, in 5 categories of their indicators. So number 1 is teaching, the quality of teaching, of course, the qualifications, the performance of the members of the faculties. Number 2 is research environment. Does the environment allow or encourage, actually it's more encourage research? Are there resources to support research? Number 3, quality of research. How is the research done? How deep is it? What are the results of research? And do results end up by producing new products, new services, new knowledge, or is it just a research? Research to have an objective, and those objectives are normally assessed on the basis of publications. How often are these publications quoted in the research journals or the universities? And the industry. Industry, you know, industry is a very broad concept. It's really how is the development of the country? Because unless the country goes through industrialization, validation, and so many other things, then the environment of research, the environment of performance is also the sophistication of the economy. How sophisticated is the economy? International outlook. How do those who are outside consider us? Do they consider us as a center of excellence, a center of high learning, a center of high achievers? How are we looked nationally, regionally, and globally? It is clear from these broad criteria the strength of teaching staff and all related aspects of teaching, including collaboration with the relevant sectors of the economy, other universities, institutions, as well as others, determine the weight of the sector. So if you are running in an enclosure without outward, then you are likely to be limited. You need to have outward connections. You have to look broadly and in depth. Research quality, the environment in which research is done, has a lot of weight in evaluation also of the universities. Here, the evaluators seek to know how much of the research outcomes have been acknowledged nationally or globally in the form of international awards or quoted publications. High quality research are to have results which have impact on services and product innovations. Such impact on industries and product competitiveness. You know, this word competitiveness, I think is a word which should be always on top of our agenda. Because globally, there is competition, continuous competition. And that's what makes economies grow. That's what makes innovation. We cannot always be followers. We cannot be always followers. Because if you follow for too long, you lose respect. You have to lead. Sometimes or always. But you never accept to be a follower. Following should be temporary for you to develop strength, knowledge, and strategy, and the technology which is required for you to move forward. Let's look at what makes a difference. Strategic deepening of research and innovations in our universities is very important. All of us are doing research, but still we have not featured anywhere. In the top league, and we want to be in the top league. We should never be contented by the fact that Kenya economy and our universities are rated well in African academic ratings. We can do better in the African rating, and more importantly, we should aim at uplifting our performance, research, and productivity to global rating. I earlier on mentioned that our universities are fairly new and yet able to find their right position in global rating. Nevertheless, we should appreciate the fact that countries with much smaller populations, such as Switzerland, Singapore, Netherlands, South Korea, and Sweden, are doing extremely well, and are always, most of the time, are ranked among the top global innovators and strong producers of globally competitive brands. Research would involve communities at the local level, regional level, and even other countries. Africa is lagging behind from other continents on industrialization. Nobody will pull up. If you wait for African countries or Kenya up, or East Africa up from down, you can forget. Because I said there is competition, and the competitors always want to be on top. The honors is on us. The honors is on us, and especially we people who are seated here, because countries, the parents, the nation, the communities have invested into you so that you can lead. You can show the way. We have to do ourselves through adequate funding on research and encouraging our students and researchers to be committed to research objectives and to be innovators. There is no war dividing us from innovators in Europe, North America, and Asia. There is no barrier. We can always interact. We can see. We buy products. And nobody prevents us from learning, or even from improving on what they have already done. Of course, there is this thing they are called patents and what have you. Those protect individuals, not countries. It's individual innovators, which is okay. It's motivating people and for them benefiting from their effort. So whether you are an African or you are an Asian or you are European, you get your patent. Of strategic plans for universities with clear targets and adequate finance, Kenya should be able to break through the African psychological barriers. We are almost there. However, we have to put maximum attention on research, innovation, and industrialization. Sorry, I have a bit of cold. For example, we are doing well in IT programs, but we have very little progress on production of delivery gadgets. I don't know. Factory, perhaps one assembly line for ICT program delivery gadgets. You cannot just be programming. We need to go to the gadgets that deliver these programs. We all know Japan, South Korea have really advanced in these areas. Their impact on international trade in industrial products is obvious. It's all over us. It's among us all the time. For how long shall we be onlookers? For how long are we be onlookers? Other people do it. I don't want to talk about the textiles, where clothes, when they are tired of them, they ship them. How long shall we be wearing second-hand clothes? We are wonderful sweaters from cotton. Where is our textile industry in this country? We are waiting for who to do it for us. All the countries are mentioned as doing extremely well in research, productivity, and technologies have special emphasis on research and innovation. They invest money there, and constantly, and in a growing manner. The same countries have endowment funds. The same countries have private sector companies, major companies, supporting research programs in the universities or working side by side with the universities to produce or to do the innovation. They have technical institutes, they have technical universities or universities of science and technology. Let's say, for example, in Germany, universities require that students work in their field of study for 1 year before graduating. They also keep university education affordable for both the local and the foreign students. Because of the value and the emphasis they put on education, they don't want it to be unaffordable. If you make university education very expensive, then you limit the numbers, and once you limit the numbers, your capacity goes down. university education affordable. Sweden emphasizes creativity and innovations in the university teaching. Japan accords priority to English language. You know, Japan know that English language is a key to access countries because it's the most spoken country globally and spoken technically globally. So they emphasize Japanese. That's why Japanese have been able to put their economies, their companies globally. They also emphasize research and innovations. South Korea accords priority to research and innovation. You know, the research and innovations for universities should not be like, and by the way, word. It should be at the center, in the minds of our students, in the mind of our professors and everybody, so that innovation and research and innovation should be a part of our culture. Can you grow that culture? Our education system has a lot to do that, to make sure from early childhood education to the higher education that is inbuilt into our thinking, into our culture, into our way of life. Finland, Denmark, Canada, and Sweden, all of them are among the top 100 innovators and accord priority to research funding and maintains low teacher to student ratio. Well, that may not be very easy here because our populations have been growing very fast. I remember I was I served in Belgium about 1990 to now is about that 3 years, about that 3 years ago. Their population was about 10 million when I was there. I was looking at the statistics just when I was preparing for this speech, and I found there are like 11 million. So they have added only 1 million. At that time, our population was Kenya population was perhaps about 30, but now we are almost 60. We are 56, something like that. So that ratio may be to achieve here, but that tells us that we have also to grow universities. So apart from that, of course, research, creativity, innovations. These countries are open for our students. They are open. They have even English programs, even where there is no English. What do we do? Can we have a way of cooperating with these universities so that some of our professors can do certain programs in those universities? Some of our master's students can do their PhD in some of these universities so that they bring that knowledge here. You know, the leader of Singapore. Singapore has always, we became independent more or less at the same time. But Singapore was able to move from third world to first world in 20 years. And that was because of a visionary leadership of their first president, this president of Prime Minister, He came from UK with a group of 10 other students with whom they were doing their postgraduate education in UK. And they came with their vision for change Singapore. They worked out on a strategy, and I think on a 10-point strategy for transformation of Singapore. They took over the leadership, and now you know where Singapore is. It's always been on top, among the top countries in everything. So the vision, strategy, vision and strategy. If with well thought and well executed, you'll be there. I'll tell you something which happened this in Nairobi not long ago. Nairobi used to have a lot of traffic because the roads leading to Nairobi were only two lanes leading to Nairobi. So if you are coming from the region, you used to get into jam in Muranga, then drive almost 50 kilometers or 60 kilometers on traffic jam. We thought about a new strategy, road strategy network for Nairobi. Thika Road, the bypasses and other things that we did. So suddenly that changed Nairobi completely. In terms of the spread, in terms of development, Nairobi opened up the flow of traffic, and so Nairobi now compares with any city in the world. I lived in New York for almost 9 years. I lived in London I was there for 1 year. In Brussels, I was there for 10 years. So the road network which were in those cities, those days, were not terribly different from what we have now. But those things did not just happen. It's because there was a vision, and that vision was executed systematically. So what we are saying, even if not where we should be in terms of global research and innovation performance, we can be there if we have well thought vision and strategy to achieve those. The funding is always an excuse. Funding is always an excuse. We can't do it because there is no funding. The issue is that there is no time when funding will be enough. Is how best you utilize what you have in a strategic manner. That's what makes the difference. I'm not saying we should not look for more funding. We should. What I'm saying here is that KU, Kenyatta University, has always been the premier university for education of teachers and has contributed enormously to the development of the educational system in the country. Kenyatta, therefore, should play a leading role in continuous development of education system and deepen learning and teaching through research and innovation to ensure that education in Kenya is among the best globally. Saying we should stop comparing ourselves with our neighbor, we should compare ourselves with the best performance globally. That's what I'm saying. for us to be able to pull our country to where it should be, or our region to where it should be. This should be a continuous mission for the university in collaboration with a cross-section of selected best-related research and innovative universities in education. Attachment of students for their areas of study could be eased greatly where there exists positive interactions and cooperation with the relevant stakeholders, for example, in the private sector. For example, Australia universities have established research institutions in several countries. So Australia is not just contented in having research in their own countries, but they are doing research institutions in other countries where they think they can extract the type of knowledge they like to have. There are endowment funds globally. It's good for us to see how much we can interact with them. Endowment funds that fund various types of research and see whether we can grow that type of relationship to augment the resources that we may be getting from the government and generated internally by the university and also from other sponsors internally. The agricultural sector in this country is quite developed. Kenyatta University could establish collaborative arrangements with the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, CARO, to collaborate in solving agricultural sector challenges such as pests, farming methods, as well as value addition processes for the products. There is evidence to show, all the indicators show that Kenya is ready for industrialization. Kenya is ready, but what is it that is holding us back? I think what is remaining now is for really us as a country to come up with a very, very ambitious industrialization strategy that should be executed in details, in precision, according to the timetable and according to the objectives. If we have that, probably a 5-year strategy, I'm sure this country will be terribly different. Employment possibilities will be enormous. I talked about textile industry. There are a lot of other things like agricultural value addition processes. There is a lot of scope for us to create jobs and opportunities for our growing population. Kenyatta University, in collaboration with the ministry responsible for industrialization and the private sector, under the coordination of both the Association of Manufacturers and the East African Business Council, could generate good ideas for industrialization strategy and its implementation. Furthermore, the university, in collaboration with the Commission of Higher Education, the Ministry of Education and other leading universities in East Africa, in the East African community, Kenyatta University can be the center of institutionalization of conferences, for review and energizing and deepening the quality and sustaining the transformation of education in East Africa. This will be the center of innovations, education sector, in the learning methods, in the deepening of educational strategy, so that students coming from our universities are globally competitive, and they are very, very creative and innovative. The quality and the strength of education system and the depth of its content and the transformative agenda will determine the creativity and innovativeness of its graduates. Most of the time, education reforms tend to pay more attention to structure. 844, I don't know what, but they hardly talk about the depth of the program. I don't know, like the British, I don't know whether they have ever changed their education. What they normally do is to deepen the same structure, but they keep on deepening the education system. And you know, up to now, 2 universities are always competing. Oxford and Harvard, and which is the others? Stanford, and they're already changing positions, number 1 or 2, number 1 or 2 or 3. You know, because they have kept always improving the education, always. As the world changes, they're ahead of the change. I remember I was in UK when the ICT came, and the ICT came, and it has started now becoming very, like, this is the way the world is moving in terms of business. And Margaret Thatcher, I remember she was addressing Parliament, and she was telling them that for a long time, Britain was in the lead in terms of technology and what have you, was ahead of Germany, was ahead of France. But now, those countries are overtaking them because of the education system. So we need to review. They did a very elaborate review of the education system to strengthen. And that's the time they introduced IT programs, even for standard 1. And the whole thing changed. And the UK has kept its position. Despite all the development that they are taking globally, UK and the US, normally we find UK, US, US, UK below. And now one of the biggest challenges is China. China, I was looking at even their number of universities. You find China is doing extremely well. They don't have as many universities as India. India is the most. China, I think, and the US are more or less the same. But in terms of the impact of their learning in China now, China, I think, is rating about, the rating is about number 4 globally. The quality of the education. And China has the population of 1.5 billion people. Do you hear of unemployment in China? There is very limited unemployment in China. Why? Is there a Chinese here? Do you have unemployment there? Serious? No. I can see you want to comment, but what I'm saying, what China has done, we all need to learn. Especially we in Africa, where the populations are really growing. If you look at our cities, are now surpassed European cities in terms of population. Our populations have really grown a lot. Even they have surpassed African cities. So we need to learn a lot from China. And there's a lot that we can learn. Now, financing of higher education should not be taken lightly because it's key. And this is a responsibility of government to make sure that education properly funded is given priority. Because even if there are no money for other sectors, graduates who get from the universities can come up with solutions. If they are brought up in a way that they can create jobs, they can create companies and so many things. So, the major expansion of our universities over the last 2 decades, there are serious financial constraints in public universities today. Hence, the recent government financing reforms, with limited budgeting resources from government, the universities have to review their budgets with a view to ensuring that the limited budgetary resources are optimized in the allocation. Those of us who did a bit of economics, we talk of optimal allocation of resources. Where the resources are likely to have greatest impact, that we will put the resources. Where they are likely to have least impact, that's why you cut. Universities have to be much more aggressive in seeking also supplementary funding from external and internal sources. But all those really quite often cover a very small percentage compared with funds that is provided from the government. Since higher education is key to the development of productive human resources, the government has to prioritize education funding in its budget and to ensure that cost of education to the citizens is kept low for affordability, even for children from the low-income groups. So here is just a question is, how do we place education? Not lip service. You know, if your education is not right, you can't go far. That you should know. Government should know that. Everybody, family should know that. If you don't, as a member, as the head of our family, you don't invest in your children's education is the most important thing you can do in your life. Then you are not, your priorities are not right. Education is number one, others come after that. The government has to do everything within its capacities to ensure that education, research, and development of technology are accorded highest priority in the budgeting. So in conclusion, what I'm saying is quality and adequate education is the key that opens pathways and possibilities for any development. Sustainability and competitiveness of education is always the result of a government's sustained strategy for development and research for socio-economic and technological growth. So there is absolutely no shortcut. In that regard, universities and other institutions for higher education have to invest in the best talent available in the market to get the best teaching faculties and professionals who really want to pursue research with with passion, and to ensure that they are sustained, to ensure that the country has sustained production of manpower that is as creativity, innovation, technological capacities. University teaching and research should be at the highest level today, in the future, to ensure that our universities and occupy a respected position in global competition or university ranking. Thank you very much. I think I've been a bit long, but I think this is a very important subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Another round of applause for our Chancellor and guest lecturer. Please, let's keep clapping for him. Thank you very much. Mr. Chancellor, sir, we shall request you to remain on stage. We'll request our Chancellor and lecturer to remain on stage. And I will invite Professor David Minja, a professor of strategy, governance, and public policy from the Department of Public Policy and Administration, to join our Chancellor for another section of this guest lecture part, where we shall have the question and answer session, and I will hand over the program to Professor Minja. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Dr. Wambugu. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Chancellor, sir, allow me to ride on the protocols already established. So you agree with me that the lecture has been very insightful, and the speaker has highlighted very significant issues that we need to consider as a community of scholars and people also who are involved in providing advice to government, technical assistance in terms of policy. There are very key issues that were highlighted by the guest speaker, our Chancellor. And I just need to kind of run through in a very brief manner some of the key issues that have been highlighted in the speech, in the lecture. Some of them are actually in form of a challenge. Several challenges have been posed to us. But the speaker started by telling us that there is actually need for us as a country to produce quality and productive manpower. And that is the only way we are going to develop like other nations. And for me, that was huge. That calls for, of course, huge investments in terms of resources, both human and otherwise. The speaker has also taken us through the evolution and development of our education system since independence. Again, that was very huge for us. We have seen where we came from. In Kenya, University of Nairobi being a constituent college of Makerere University, to where we are now with 68 universities, both public and private. Well, and at that point, he posed a challenge and said, yes, we have grown in terms of the number of universities and in the terms of students, but our ranking globally is still wanting. We need to do something as scholars. And he also brought out the issue of us, the need to provide quality research that actually informs how industry practices are shaped, where we will help industry to come up with products and services that are competitive. The speaker has also noted that we need to, as we upgrade our global ratings, we should also remember that in terms of innovation, there is no war dividing us from innovators in the developed world. And so he posed a question, how long are we going to be onlookers? And I think, colleagues, that for me was a very big challenge. And I started thinking in the theater of my mind. I started asking myself or seeing ourselves also being leaders in the area of innovation, creativity. And so when he was asking for how long are we going to be onlookers, and I was saying, I was thinking in my mind, we should also be the kind that others will also look up to. And that is the challenge that we need to do something. Indeed, there's something we are doing, but we need to do more. He highlighted the need to strengthen strategic planning practice, because he said that with proper visioning and strategy, we can actually go far. And in this, I thought perhaps this is a key area in terms of higher education reforms. Are we strategic in terms of how we are reforming higher education? And what else do we need to do? All our strategies innovative? Are they going to give us a thrust as a country, as a community of scholars, move to the next level? The guest speaker has also highlighted the need for continuous collaboration. We strengthen our collaboration, and we also benchmark with the best so that we can tap from those who are doing better than us, and that we can improve also our standing, both locally in Africa and globally. So the need for vision and strategy, because it will help us to optimally use the scarce or inadequate resources that we have. He talked about now at country level, and this is also in scholars who also work or collaborate with government, the need for a robust industrialization strategy. And I was asking myself, as scholars, as researchers, how do we come in to strengthen what the government is doing and give the government some input to help them move to the next level? And this is where we also come in, colleagues. He talked about also the need for having quality education that influences and determines how we innovate and create and come up with differentiated products and services that are not just competitive locally here, but we are seen globally as being competitive. He acknowledged the fact that the government has been doing a lot in terms of financing education, and of course in particular higher education, but we take cognizance of the fact that money will never be enough, finances will never be enough, and so he challenged us to also think of how we can optimize the inadequate resources that we have. So it is on us to manage strategically what we have so as to also help our universities, and in particular this university and others, to come up with these innovations and create knowledge that is our level of development that helps our country to develop and also influences others out there, so that we stop just being onlookers or just quoting what others have done, and we are not being quoted the innovations that we have come up with, the products and services that do not only influence our country, but our continent and the world at large. With that summary, I would like now to invite questions. This is a good time where now you can either raise comments. If you have a comment, maybe you're a practitioner or you are a regulator in a certain area and you'd want or make a comment. So I invite now us to ask questions or make remarks, and I'll start with this team here directly facing us. Once we are done with this section, then we go to this section. So I'll guide and then we go to this section, but all of us have an opportunity to ask questions, and is more than ready to respond to those questions. Looking at what he has presented to us, if you have a question regarding what has been presented or some area you would like him to clarify, he's willing to do that. So I want to invite this section where we have the VC and members of the board and council members. If you have a question or a comment, is your chance to ask questions. I'll give everybody, both faculty and students, everyone will have a chance either to make a comment or ask a question. So go ahead. Any question? Who's going to go fast? Comment or question? Oh, there's one. Yes, the professor, and then we'll go to there. So we'll be taking 2 questions. Once he responds, then we go to another list of 2. Thank you. So we'll have a question there, Professor, and another one there. Then the second round will go there, just like that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Professor. My question is that, Chancellor, thank you for the wonderful public lecture. In one of your statements, you said that no one will pull us up as Africans, and there is us or separating us from the developed world. And I found that very, very catchy. But in it, you said that the reason why those developed countries, the universities are performing better is because the government funds research, industry relationship is very strong, the university, and also they rely on their alumni. Now, that took me back a little bit when never been the reason, and that has been my convenient, excuse that the government is not funding. And therefore, may I take this opportunity to pick a little bit of your brains regarding that how do we then strengthen the relationship with the industries? And is there a way, because recently there were discussions that higher education has not created enough reason to motivate the allocators of funding as a priority. And the CEO of NACOSTI once said that the moment we will create priority of research and higher education as a security issue, then you will see a lot of resources getting allocated to the higher education. From where you sit, Chancellor, how do we then forge relationship, particularly with politicians? Because when our Vice Chancellor and the team present herself before this, members of parliament, during the supplementary attempts for funding allocation, there must be a way of talking to the politicians in a way that they higher education education as a very, very critical area. How do we negotiate with them so that we have a stronger bond? Thank you.
Your Excellency, I just want to make a comment because your presentation has stimulated me and it has informed me very vividly that what is happening is well known. My main concern is first about strategic reform. The word strategic has been a honorific term which is very sweet in the mouth of anybody who wants to show excellence. It's not the first time we are hearing the word strategic, because I can remember at Kenyatta University from 2005, we have been talking of strategic plans, strategic management, strategic everything. But still we are lamenting that all this strategic has never yielded results. The first question, how strategic has this strategic? The reason why I'm asking that question, we have all reforms, they are all called strategic. But I would have wished that we change from strategic reform to strategic engagement. Because we have been having strategic without thinking of how we can strategically engage with the stakeholders. I'm very unhappy when sometimes there are policies which are borrowed from best practices and they are implanted. Sometimes they supplant what we already have without our participation. So in the end, you find that ownership of those policies become a problem. Your Excellency, you have talked about that we need to know the drawback. Sometimes we talk of them as blockers. There are several blockers which are there in place, such that even if we are very strategic, those blockers cannot allow us to go. The first blocker I know are certain institutions that are put within the government framework that want to monitor the activities in the university. Senate, by definition, the way I know it, should be the autonomous body.
Make your question brief, please.
Yes, I know Senate is supposed to be autonomous, but at the same time, in matter of academic, we have other bodies which are monitoring what the Senate is doing. So how are we as scholars going to innovate something which is going to be challenged with other bodies? Finally, about research. We are supposed to be funding research on our own. Instead of us having a location for research from the government, I don't know the percentage, but if it is there, it must be less than 2%. So how are we going to create a research situation in which we have research when the finance, the budget for research, if you look at it for university, is non-existent. If it is there, it's very marginal. Otherwise, thank you very much for the opportunity that you have given me.
Councillor, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for those comments, questions. There is the issue of strengthening relations with the industry. How do we do that? How do we develop, collaborative arrangements with the industry? We have some bodies that represent the industries, and that is the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and the East African Business Council, the Chief of Commerce, and what have you, and also direct relations with the individual companies, like you are doing engineering, whether it's mechanical, motor vehicle companies that you can have, you may be able to have direct linkages, or there are things that can be discussed with these bodies that represent the industry. Now, I think what we have is that our industries, I would say, are not used to doing that, or even our industries are not used to doing this type of collaborative arrangement. But we have to do it. We have to develop that collaborative arrangement. And one area is the entry point could be these associations which are available. You can participate, you can make presentation in their meetings where you can discuss and come up with ideas. So there is possibilities, but sometimes you have to have a mechanism that's trying to develop those type of linkages, and it must be dynamic type of arrangement. Then the other thing somebody was their priorities. Research for the industry are not our priority at the university. Normally you should understand their priorities, because research, if you are doing the industrial things to do with the industries, those who are actually in the industries are more sensitive to challenges. They know the challenges more than those who are in the universities. So it's good to listen to them. But when you are framing your research proposal, they take into account some of these things that they highlight are challenges that they are faced with. The point is, which was raised was how do we deal with our politicians? Politicians, the way we know it is, we have the parliament, we have the executive, and we have the judiciary. So for us, we work first of all with the executive, that is the ministry. Once you work with the ministry and you define your priority, and the ministry is convinced what we are proposing, we should be put in a clear policy framework. Then the ministry will take that to the cabinet. And once it's approved by the cabinet, then it's tabled in parliament. So that's how the government operates. You make proposals to the ministry, and the ministry is approved to the cabinet, and the cabinet takes it to the parliament, especially if they require the enhancement. Things like this is very low priority of a research. Even at the African level, at the African AU level, there have been set some indicators about how much a country should commit to research without automatically. Unfortunately, we don't meet those requirements, but I think we are getting late. We have to meet the requirement. And it's important that some of these proposals are not even presented by one university. That's why collaboration among universities is very important. To say research is key, but it's most probably funded in the budget. Can its budget be raised? I think if that is put seriously to the ministry, to the cabinet, that will happen. The other point is, somebody has talked about strategic reforms. This concept of strategy, I can assure you, is key to any organization. An organization with no strategy is blindfolded. You are just working in the because you have to know exactly where you are and where you want to be. Now, once you know where you are and where you want to be, then that is the mission. Now, you have to work out on a strategy for making that possible, and even make the people responsible, accountable, because you must have annual reviews on performance, on the execution of the strategy. When I was the head of public service, I put a lot of that, a lot of emphasis on the strategies, on even performance contracts for the ministries and the departments. And I can assure you the results were wonderful. The people worked very hard. They knew, it gives them direction. When people don't have direction or expectation, then they just work, but they don't have the motivation or agency. Now, you cannot, as an institution, this complex, with so much knowledge. First of all, you have to capture the knowledge of all people and invest it. And then work it in a way that you'll be able to review that strategy until it is implemented. Because the strategy have time and targets for every periodical reviews. So don't think this is just cosmetic. Without a strategy, you can't go anywhere. You have to operate on a clear strategy with the very, very well thought and all the interaction. In the universities are most, they are the luckiest because knowledge is there. And that's the knowledge you want to capture and put it there. And that's what will be able to propel the university to the next level. Or you are saying they have not yielded results in the past. I don't know exactly what you are talking about because I've seen a lot of transformation in this particular university. I know there have been a lot of transformations, a lot of buildings, a lot of new departments, and really the results can be seen even from the people who pass by. So the results, the strategies bring results. Then the other one is you are talking about engagement. Engagement should be before the strategy. You engage to develop a strategy. All those ideas you get from engagement, those are the conclusions you make. That's what you put in the strategy. But then after that, it's just execution of the strategy. So engagement will always be. And without a comprehensive engagement, you cannot have a good strategy. Sorry for my cough. Then the other point you mentioned was ownership of policies and what have you. This is what I talk about engagement, because the university has to engage with the various parties, and when it comes up with a strategy, either for faculty or for the whole university, then that may be advanced to the Ministry of Education, may even go further to the cabinet. That's how strategies are done in government. And there are procedures for doing that. That's the best way of doing it. Blockages, we normally say there are challenges. We call them challenges. And I think you are intelligent enough to be able to overcome the challenges, or even expose them so that they become effective. Those challenges. Then the budget, I normally say it is very important for us to appreciate. National budget is there's a lot of competition. Almost every the government is big, it's very expansive. There are a lot of demand. And I normally say the budget allocation should, before even you go to the budget to prepare the budget, there should be a policy direction guided by either the national strategy. So that there is a ministry strategy and there is a national strategy. Now that national strategy is the one which prioritizes what takes more attention in the budget. And normally, Kenyan budget, education normally takes the highest cut. So it's always on top. But even within that education budget, the other aspects like the research and what have you, sometimes which are forgotten because of so many things that are required in the education. So, but the issue is that if the universities together with the ministry put a very strong case, definitely the budget will be adjusted accordingly. Thank you.
Well said. That was wonderful. I want to give staff 2 more people. Okay, there are 3. I'll give those 3, and then I'll also give students a chance so that bring the session to a close. So let's start there, and then there are 2 more down here. You could ask, the 3 could ask the question. So there, and then down here. Yes, yes. Go ahead. Just straight to the point. Ask the question. If it's a comment, just a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chancellor, for the very profound lecture. Mine is partly a question and partly a when I'm teaching, sometimes I wonder, whose content is this? Is it our content or something that has been conceived somewhere? We are actually imposing it on our students. How best can it be our content, our education? My second one is about artificial intelligence. In my view, what is happening is a wave, a very strong, in fact, a tsunami that is. And I think the best way that we can be the university of the future, the relevant university, is to ride on this wave, artificial intelligence. Come of mainstreaming artificial intelligence in all our programs. Otherwise, in 15, 20 years, we risk being irrelevant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chancellor, for that powerful presentation. I've been here for years. I've not heard that, especially on education. Thank you very much. I have only 2 points to make. The first one is about what is the role or what's the place of endowment fund? I think that is something that can be picked up at the university. The second one is industrial parks. You mentioned about students going out for attachments and so on. But in some of the experiences some of us have from elsewhere where we did our studies, we also come across industrial parks. Where do they sit in terms of development and funding of education? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Sir, for that informative lecture. My concern is in the area of innovation. And as you were talking, I remember that about 15 years ago, we had a MOU with a university in South Korea. And we sent some of our very top students who studied in that university. I had the privilege of engaging with them because the university needed an teacher. I'm from that department. At that time, the big thing was nanotechnology. And those students were doing very well. Now, my concern is that, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think those students came back. And I don't even think we know where they are. So I'm wondering, what can we do as a university to harness the gains? How can we create an environment? Because we know that's just one case, but we have cases where we have our students who study out there, they have a lot of good knowledge, they can really help in innovations, but the environment we have is not inviting. How do we create an inviting environment so that we retain those brains, and which I believe will be very, very transformative in the area of innovation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think artificial intelligence, that is now is very current, and the universities cannot afford to be indifferent, because that's the direction. Universities have always to keep pace with the, not only internal development, but with global development. So that artificial intelligence definitely policy and research and monitoring and identification of areas where this intelligence can be applied. I think the university should be ahead, back, before others. Endowment funds, we don't have many endowment funds in this country, but there are endowment funds outside. But even ourselves, actually, we need to start encouraging development of endowment funds in our own country. A lot of, we have people now, they can sacrifice a retro if they are approached and what have you. There must be a way of developing the concept and educating the Kenyan public. I think these days we have a lot of rich people these days who can sacrifice quite a bit, and we create them. I think it's not impossible to do that. I think it can be done. Industrial parks, I think this is really, it's an industrial strategy which I think we have borrowed from basically from Asia and Latin America, Caribbean. They started industrial parks and they have done pretty well. Our concept has been a bit, sometimes they are very good ideas, but when I see the speed at which they are being implemented, I'm not happy, because these things just don't happen. Recently, there was a lot of, I think when Korea was the CS, they opened a lot of industrial parks. But, people still don't have a complete picture of what an industrial park is. There's, I visited several industrial parks in Europe, not in Europe, sorry. I visited a few industrial parks in Asia and Latin America. Sometimes we don't invest enough to get the industrial park, attractive, because industrial parks should have the infrastructure ready, so that when the companies come, they just plug their machines and they start manufacturing. I don't know whether we know that. You can go So this is an industrial park, but there is no road, there is no utility, there are no power, there is no water, there are no roads, there are no water. So that is an area which really requires more serious attention. But to say industrial parks are very important for, for development of industrial capacity in the country, export processing, and export earnings, and also very important for job creation, especially now we have a lot of issues. So what would happen is that the university, for example, could be even do as a comparative study on the successful industrial parks, what is happening and and feed the Ministry of Industrialization or even the county government. That so they know when to launch an industrial park, you have to have invested so much so that it's more attractive. Because there is competition, people are not going to come to a industrial park which is not ready, while there are a lot of industrial parks elsewhere which are ready. Then the issue of word innovation. Innovation is a word which we use quite a lot. But the question is, innovation is really, let's say we have been using a lot of things like assembly of vehicles. We assemble vehicles here, or we are using a lot of motorbikes in this country. But they don't have ingredients. There are no parts which are manufactured locally here. So if you find some that they produce, and you are able to get it done, at least at the factory level, at the workshop level, then you have innovated a product which has a market and which is being used, which is in demand. So innovation is really ideas which are translated into services. That's what innovation means. But unless you are able to do that, you are permanently a buyer of other people's services and the products, unless you can innovate. So this is an area where, when we are talking about research and what have you, research findings lead to innovation.
Yes, sure.
You have to do research, you have to find, you can do it, and you do it. Then when a product is seen in the market, then we can say we have become innovators.
Yeah.
So that's what I can say.
Yes, yeah. Chancellor, there's someone who also mentioned about brain drain. What can we do to reduce? We know we can't entirely eliminate, but is there anything the country can do to reduce the rate of brain drain?
What I can say is that Kenya is a very hospitable country. Even for a long time when we were in the diplomatic service, Kenyans didn't want to stay out there after education. They wanted to come back. And even now, Kenya is a very attractive country, even for foreigners. So the only thing which pushes now people to go out is actually lack of jobs. When the economy is expiring, people have to go out and look for jobs. And these people of high level capacities, I don't know how much the universities are having brain drain. I don't know how much there is in the universities. But once we start losing manpower in universities, and we are not able to replace them, then that becomes dangerous. Yes. But the issue is once the economy is competitive, once the lifestyle, once the stability of the country, the living standards are good enough, I think this country can manage brain drain very easily. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. I want to ask if there's any question from the people seated behind us. We want to give this chance before we get the last one question. So we have a question. Yes, go ahead. And then the last one, there's a lady who raised her hand up there. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And also to thank guest speaker for the enlightenment that he has given us today. My name is Sunrise. I'm a student. And I remember 4 years down the line, when I was out there, and even before then, I had this dream of studying law to become a lawyer. But somewhere along the way, I happened to actively walk through the technology industry, and I liked it. So I decided to join the institution so that I can get these technological skills. And that is why and how I joined Kenyatta University. At some point, I must confess that what I was experiencing out there and what I've been able to meet here there's a big gap. At some point, I would say that I was discouraged. Why? One of the reasons is there are points, according to me, experience. According to me, there are some units or courses which I suppose they are practical. And most of us will agree with me, technology, most of the things that we learn or study there are supposed to be practical. For instance, let me give this illustration or an example. When
try to summarize, just to summarize.
I was there at 1.1, and there is a unit we studied called computer hardware. And the definition was, and it still is, that the computer hardware are the physical, tangible parts of the computer. But one thing I must confess is that we were able to learn the entire unit on theoretical way. There was nothing that we saw about the computer that we touched the computer. And when you go out there in these other universities where we are trying to say that we want to compete with them, they are actually engaging on practical on the same matters. So according to me, that gap is there, and we, as we were being challenged, for how long are we going to follow? If, according to me, we continue on that trajectory, then the following might be infinite, unless we change. That is one. Number two, there are some times when you taught some lessons, some other, for instance, there's some computer language that you are being taught, and you are told that this one is not in use, is not in use anywhere now. So, is our system being updated in any way, or are we still learning things that do not apply in the current world, and yet the world is moving forward? And the last point, I'm glad to have here. And he spoke about him having visited many European nations out there and has had a good experience on the education system. And I believe that him being in an institution and holding that position, he will be able maybe to champion, maybe to take us, or maybe to help us to arrive at the levels that has been able to see out there in the corporate world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chancellor, there's one more there, and that should be the last one. Colleagues, in the interest of time, I request that we'll bring this to a close after that question. I know this topic is very interesting. We can be here for hours. And like the Vice Chancellor said, this is just the beginning of this lecture. So we need to have many more and be prepared to participate. But because of time, allow me just to have the lady ask the last question, please.
Thank you so much. My name is Gaki Murungi. Every time I sit in your presence, I learn a lot. And people have asked you questions. For me, is to appreciate you for the lecture. They say, where an elder can sit, we may not be able to see even when we climb on top of a tree. And my take home from this lecture is, what can I do so that what I've learned from you can be useful? I'm going to establish exchange programs in my department. And I know if I'm not able to accomplish this, I can count on you, Ambassador Muthaura. Thank you very much. And it's nice sitting and listening to you. Thank you.
Let's appreciate her. Chancellor.
Okay, thank you very much. There was a question which was asked about technology and the lack of equipment that students can use or learn from. I think that is where really the budgeting comes in, so that these things are available. You can't be a technologist if you are running just theoretically.
Sure.
It has to be practical. You have to have all these type of gadgets available, and I'm sure the university knows that very well.
Yeah.
So I support that idea of the fact that you learn from real things. You cannot learn driving theoretically. You have to get into a vehicle, a motor vehicle, to be able to drive. Theory is about the rules of the road and those type of things. But to actually drive the vehicle, you have to be on the wheel. So that I agree with you fully. The updating of systems or running. Let me say that the university should be in the forefront of picking the new concepts, new technology, and if you keep on, putting the students to learn from the old, outdated type of systems, then you are not being very helpful. This should always be try to put the students in the forefront,
yes,
not at the back.
Yeah.
There also I agree. Systems must be updated, and the thing means these days actually is keeping in pace with the rest of the world, not just a localized type of advancement. We are looking at global advancement because that's the way we are going. Because again, the world is becoming increasingly one market. And if you have to market your or your product, it's global. You are in a global market. You can't grow unless your standards are really in global standards. So they will talk to the accounts from Meru. That one,
yeah.
I appreciate. Yeah, we are not very many as Merus. So when we see a Meru in that type of position, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. Colleagues, distinguished guests, you appreciate that actually this is a very insightful topic. Time is not on our side, but it has been very enlightening. The Chancellor has brought out very key issues. Let's appreciate his lecture as well as response to the questions. It has been wonderful. We appreciate the insightful lecture and the response to the questions. And you can see there are many more questions, only that there's no time. But many people wanted to engage with you, and we look forward to having you many more times. We are busy, but this is your university now. Yeah. So thank you very much. Back to you, MC.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause, please, for our Chancellor. I humbly request our Chancellor to remain on stage kindly, and I call upon Dr. Esther Mbithi from the Department of Literature, Linguistics, and Foreign Languages to come and talk about the gift presentation, and humbly request our Chairman of Council, represented by Dr. Gichini, together with our Vice Chancellor, to join our Chancellor on stage for the presentation. Karibuni.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. KU fraternity. You know, it is a tradition here. We say thank you in words, and then we say thank you in action and in kind. And we have here your gift of Kenyatta University to our chief guest today. I'm going to hand it over to the Vice Chancellor, who will do the honors on our behalf. Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor.
A better round of applause, please, for our gift to our Chancellor.
This is presented by Kenyatta University to Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura, MBS, on delivering a public lecture on the theme, Strengthening the Future of Higher Education through Strategic Reforms, Stakeholder Engagement at Kenyatta University this Friday, the 4th October 2024.
There we have it, ladies and gentlemen, an elephant. And we all know the elephant is the first of the big five. We have had with us here today a real elephant in spite of his size. We appreciate this is a giant in diplomacy, a giant in academia, and Ambassador, with your help, Kenyatta University becomes a giant in industrialization. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause, please, for our Chancellor. And we shall request our Chief Guest Chancellor, may, after the photo, thank you very much. You may now have your seat. We're coming to the end of our great day and our public lecture today. And I would like to invite Professor Richard Odwor, the Registrar of Research, Innovation and Outreach, and the Chairperson of the Public Lecture Series Committee to make a vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, MC, and allow me to ride on already established protocol. Our chief guest so much. And if you allow me to plagiarize, I now get to know that you are big life. Thank you so much. A clap for our Chancellor, please. We could not have gotten a better speaker than Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura. And for that reason, Chancellor, sir, thank you so much. Clap for him again. Our Chair of Council, represented here by Dr. Gatama Gishini, thank you so much. And your fellow council members, I see a number of them in here. We thank you for your leadership and for oversighting us in this university. Thank you so much. A clap for them again. Our Vice Chancellor, this could not have happened without your approval and support, which was almost military because the position was well prescribed. And on that note, I thank you so much, and also TVCs and all the members of management. Could you please clap for them as well? The senators, you are here as part of very critical content and this particular public lecture. Thank you so much for being here. Clap for them as well. We have the CEOs of different organizations that were invited from CUE, Commission for University Education, HELB, Kenyatta, NRF, and many of them have been participating online. And allow me also in absentia for those who are online and those who probably sent their apologies because they are part of the stakeholders that was part of the theme. Please clap for them as well. To the KU staff, both academic and non-academic staff, thank you. You've been seated here for slightly above 2 hours now, and this is encouraging, and particularly being the first of the inaugural lectures that we are having. We look forward to having you here in the subsequent ones. May we please clap for students who are here. You are still seated here, and probably you're revising for your cuts and lectures later this afternoon. Your patience is hereby appreciated, and continue relying on your presence as audience. And of course, as good students, we are very grateful. Thank yourself, and let's clap for them as well. Media and security. You've seen a lot of digital stuff happening, and team behind this, of course, led by Director Kingara. Dr. Kingara is here, and your team. Please feel appreciated. Let's clap for them as well. So the caretakers and the catering services, those are very critical aspect of organization and logistics. Thank you, and feel appreciated. Clap for them as well. Public lecture series, you are the people behind this, and privilege to chair that committee. May you get blessed and feel appreciated. You are running up and down, and it has happened. Thank you. Clap for this team as well. We often forget the MC Dr. Wambugo. Hasn't he been lovely? Clap for him, please. And finally, the men of God, Reverend Esther, and of course, they are always ready on short notice to commit us to the Lord, and that we cannot take for granted. We want to specially thank them as well. Clap for them, please. And without further ado, thanks myself. Clap for myself as well as I leave. Of course, on a light note, let me take it back to the MC. May God bless you all. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Registrar. I was going to say, let us clap for Registrar for thanking all of us. Let's clap for Registrar again for thanking us. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the inaugural public lecture series. Thank you all so much. We shall now go into a session after this, and we shall request the Chancellor, together with the Chair of Council, the Vice Chancellor, DVC Academic, and DVC Rio, to kindly leave the amphitheater through the photo session, followed by members of council and members of management present as well. And then the third photo will be the organizing committee. So may we all be standing as our Chancellor and Vice Chancellor, Chair of Council, leave for the photo session. And as they leave, let's give Chief Guest another round of applause, please. Thank you all so much. Followed by members of council, present members of management, and members of the lectures.
All right, indeed, it has been such an informative public lecture right here at Kenyatta University's amphitheater. Indeed, just a few minutes to one from the speech to the entertainment here at the amphitheater. Just a number of key highlights that Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura, Kenyatta University's Chancellor, has emphasized this morning or this afternoon is the importance of the government and universities working closely with the government to fund research and innovation projects. Well, according to Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura, he has also insisted on the need for quality and productive manpower to ensure that even as students undergo university education, they will graduate with hands-on skills to become productive members of the society. Also, a brief history of the education sector in Kenya, just highlighting the significant milestones that the education sector in Kenya has hit. And he has challenged universities in Kenya to try and ensure the level of output they give out or the kind of graduates they give outside equate the number or the level of investment in the Kenyan education. Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura, who is also the sixth Chancellor of Kenyatta University, has also insisted on the place of innovation in enabling university cut their edge in the areas of development. Well, according to Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura, he has insisted that for universities to remain relevant in the place of developments, they have to ensure that they come up to speed with current innovations in the market that match up to the current niches in the market. And also, Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura has also talked about or insisted on the aspect of universities in the country, not just Kenyatta University, benchmarking with other top-notch universities in the world. Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura has also insisted that Kenyatta University the key leading university in the country on the aspect of research and innovation. In this matter, Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura has also challenged universities to come up with platforms and areas of to enable student exchange programs. And also on student exchange programs, one of the key questions that has come is the aspects of students traveling outside the country and not wanting to come back to Kenya. And this is an issue that Ambassador Muthaura has hinted and challenged the Kenyan government to also come up with key strategies to ensure the environment in Kenya is inviting to avoid the aspect of brain drain of students getting outside the country and not wanting to return to the country. Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura has really challenged the universities, not just Kenyatta University, but also universities across the country, to ensure they come up with strategies and mechanisms that will enable and ensure students remain retained in the country. Well, he has boasted of Kenya being a very hospitable country, courtesy of the developments and the people around the country. Well, in his speech, in his public lecture this morning, Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura has also insisted on the aspect of having a quality education system in the country. And he has said that having a quality education system in the country determines the quality of output in terms of personnel being churned out in the market. And just laying out strategies of ensuring quality education, Dr. Francis Muthaura has challenged universities to ensure that they also come with strategies to ensure they partner with key resources or key infrastructures in the country that play a pivotal role in developments across various universities. One major key area that has stood out is the area of university funding to enable research all across the country. Another very important element that has stood out in Kenyatta University's Chancellor's speech this morning is the aspect of Kenyatta University embracing artificial intelligence, which has been termed as a key area that is currently taking over the current market in the country, not just here at Kenyatta University, not just in Kenya, not just in East Africa, not just in Africa, but even in the entire world. Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura, who serves as Kenyatta University's 6th Chancellor, has also insisted on the aspect of Kenya and Kenyatta University at large embracing artificial intelligence to ensure that not just Kenyatta University, but every other key stakeholder remains relevant in this field of education, because he has highlighted that in the 15 or 20 years, if we don't get prepared to embrace artificial intelligence, Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura has reiterated that some of the key areas in the country, and not just in the country, but also in the world, might end up being phased out because of artificial intelligence. Another key aspect that has stood out from Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura's speech is the aspect of partnering with key stakeholders who are involved in ensuring that university education remains top-notch. The key stakeholders that have been mentioned or highlighted by Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura include the Ministry of Education, that have been highlighted as a key and as a major player in the field of education. Also, another key stakeholder that has been highlighted by Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura is the Commission for Higher Learning, or the Commission for University Education. This is also among the key stakeholders that have been termed by Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura in his public lecture. Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura, being a visionary leader, could not forget to speak about or emphasize on the importance of having visions and strategies, and not just having visions and strategies, but having a laid out plan on how to execute a number of visions and a number of strategies to ensure that every university, Kenyatta University included, remains top-notch in delivering education to every other student that joins the university. Also highlighted on having an investment plan and said that it is important for every university, Kenyatta University standing as a leading university in the country, to ensure that they invest largely in the education sector and in line with producing top-notch, professionally skilled personnel in the country and even beyond. Another area also highlighted by Kenyatta University's Chancellor, that is Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura, aspect of the government, calling out the government to also consider giving the highest priority in terms of budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Education to ensure that funding in all the universities, in all the schools in the country, remains uninterrupted. Well, Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura has also talked about investing in the best talents available in the market to ensure that people also come and pursue research. It is also worth noting that this has been Ambassador Muthaura's first ever public lecture as the Chancellor of Kenyatta University. Well, as we had mentioned earlier, Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura has served as a civil servant in the Kenyan government and also as a diplomat, holding various significant positions like the Moran of the Burning Spear, the Elder of the Golden Heart, and also, as we had mentioned earlier, Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura has served all across various governments, including the former president, the late President Daniel Moi's government, trickling down to the late President Mwai Kibaki's government, and also trickling down to former President Uhuru Kenyatta's government. Also currently serving under President William Ruto's government, Kenyatta's University's 6th Vice Chancellor. Well, remember, this auspicious event has been coming to you live on KU TV and also across all Kenyatta University platforms. That has been Facebook and X at Kenyatta Uni, and Instagram and LinkedIn at Kenyatta University. Well, remember also, as we had mentioned earlier, this broadcast also was coming to you live on our YouTube platform, that is our KUTV News Kenya. Not forgetting the holistic kind of programming approach that is only available at Kenyatta University. Well, talk about matters education programs like Elimu Live that come to you only at KUTV. When you break it down to matters health, Kenyatta University Television also has got you covered with programs focused on health that comes to you only at KUTV. When it comes to matters agriculture, Kenyatta University Television also got you with a program by the name Boresha Kilimo that runs only here at KUTV. And also we also consider matters, legal matters. In terms of legal matters, Kenyatta University Television Network also offers a program by the name Law Matters that comes to you every Tuesday from 7:30 to 8 in the PM. And also in matters entertainment and the latest banter in terms of music, entertainment, and the latest juice and trends, Kenyatta University Television also has a Top in Africa that brings you up to speed with the latest banter in matters entertainment and music and trends. And also in matters fashion, Kenyatta University also has a program by the name Fashion Diaries that brings you a pace and with the latest fashion trends in the market. We are here to ensure that you also look outstanding. And also on top of that, in matters in the world of news, Kenyatta University Television also has got you covered every Monday to Friday. Swahili Desk, we have Zizi ya Habari running from 6:30 to 7 or 7:30 in the PM. And also in the weekend, every other day from 6:30 to 7 in the PM during the weekends is Mizizi Weekendi, to you by our team of very competitive Swahili anchors and reporters. And also when we cross over to this other side, we have a prime time news or News at 9. This runs from Monday to Friday. Every other day, Monday to Friday, coming to you live 9 to 9:30 in the PM, or days that we have good conversations and interviews. News at 9 coming to you from 9 to around 10 or 10:30 in the PM. Crossing over to the weekends, we have Weekend Live, Kenyatta University, KUTV, every Saturdays from 9 to 9:30 in the PM. Not forgetting a series of top-notch and informative programming that comes to you only at Kenyatta University. And also that, apart from bringing you these top-notch events, Kenyatta University Television also has an intensive one-month training program that nurtures young upcoming journalists in the world of video editing, studio and technical operations and broadcasting. Well, I have been Theo Masharia. Many thanks for sticking with us for the last 1 hour or 2 hours or so this events. Remember to keep interacting with us on our social media platforms. This conversation ends here, but the conversation runs on our social media handles, that is Facebook, X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Once again, my name is Theo Masharia. It has been good having you on board. Keep enjoying the rest of our programming. Until next time, goodbye. Kenyatta University's Chancellor Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura will hold a public lecture at the university's amphitheater on Friday, 4th October 2024 at 10 a.m. Ambassador Dr. Francis Muthaura has served as a civil servant and a diplomat in the Kenyan government, holding various distinguished positions like the Kenyan ambassador to EU and Luxembourg, and a permanent representative to the United Nations in New York. He boasts of the Moran of the Burning Spear and of the Golden Heart. The public lecture themed Strengthening the Future of Higher Education Through Strategic Reforms and Stakeholder Engagement will be live on KUTV and all Kenyatta University's social media platforms.
Katika maisha yetu ya leo, wakulima na jamii nyingi kwa ujumla wanakumbatia teknolojia